Hey guys, welcome to the program. I'm Tejera, your host, and this is Industry Standard. Today on the program, we have actor B. They played Antonio in the Public Theater's production of Twelfth Night, alongside Peter Dinklage, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Sandra Oh, and Lupita Nyong'o. They also play Officer Reynolds on a show called Elsbeth on CBS. They played Phoenix in the Netflix show You with Penn Badgley. And of course, they played Andrea and my brother Danny's play Toros at Second Stage Theater. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. B, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. It's so exciting.
It's cool to see you in person.
Yeah, I feel like honestly so many of my interactions with other creatives and people has been online.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to like actually chat with a human being.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much I want to talk about, but I want to start with Twelfth Night, which you just finished, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just wrapped up. Mm-hmm. You played Antonio. Tell me a little bit about your character. Who is Antonio?
That's a great question because when Sahim Ali, the director, I got a call that he wanted me to come and chat with him about playing Antonio. And I was like, yeah, of course, because it was Sahim and it was the public. But I was like, who's Antonio in Twelfth Night? And I had seen Twelfth Night like numerous times. I had played Viola in college at Juilliard. And I was like, I love Twelfth Night. But like I couldn't remember Antonio for some reason. Twelfth Night is a twin play, as you know, and most of the play follows the female twin, Viola, as she falls in love. But there's also her male twin, her brother, who she assumes is dead. And Antonio is the sea captain pirate, arguably, who saves Sebastian, the twin brother, from the ocean. And they become very good friends. And the friendship sort of crosses the line into love and devotion on Antonio's part. And so you watch Antonio follow Sebastian to Illyria, where he is reunited with his twin sister, but not before there's a bunch of mix-ups, because everyone is in love with these twins because they're irresistible and wonderful. And Antonio for me this summer was a total lover boy. And I really loved stepping into that.
So this is a queer kind of plot line,
yes.
right?
Yes. We really want when I got the call from Sahim, one of the first things when we sat down and chatted about this 12th night was that he wanted Illyria to be really binary in terms of traditional male and traditional female roles, and Antonio is usually played by an older man, a cis man, that sort of takes Sebastian maybe under his wing in a predatory way or like in a sort of really uncomfortable way, like this older man, young boy. But because I'm a queer person and I'm also super young, and Junior Nyong'o, who plays Sebastian, is also super young, we wanted to play with that fluidity because I also think a lot of young queer people now, the fluidity, even in relationship between friendship and lovers, can get a little messy as well.
Oh, yes.
So something about that felt really real and present on stage in the scenes. And I think it made sense to people when they watched it and saw me and Junior on stage, how those lines could get blurred.
Yeah. So you have a lot in common with Antonio.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Oh man, I am someone I think who enjoys wearing my heart on my sleeve.
Okay. As we all do.
As we all do.
Maybe not I do too. Yes. I relate to that.
Yes, and I lead with love. Often I try to, and one of the great things about playing a character who is so down bad, who is like so in love with their friend, is there's nothing that Antonio does that I couldn't justify. Because I think when we're in love and when we're devoted is when we're the most stupid, the most foolish, the most irrational, and logic kind of goes out the window.
Yep.
I think we all have that friend who we're like, you should really leave this person, or you should, but they can't because they're in love, they're in infatuation. And so also being a queer person in the world for me, I have a friend who's a dramaturg, and I was talking to them prior to the show, like, what would it mean for an Elizabethan audience to see somebody who's of the sea, or who is a sea captain, or like what is their association? And they brought up, at this time, the New World, and how people were embarking out at sea to discover, right, the New World. And somebody who was at sea would have contact with really high class people on a boat, really low class people. They would have contact with different kinds of spices, different kinds of languages, different cultures from all over the world that people who stayed on land did not. And so, and because of my age, I imagine that Antonio was on a boat for most of their life.
Yeah.
And I came up with this sort of crazy backstory of, like, if this person was on a boat for most of their life, my parents are probably from different coasts. I probably grew up around people of different race, gender, backgrounds. And so you have all these characters in Illyria. A lot of these characters are of nobility who belong to very specific groups.
Yeah.
And Antonio is a character who has been all over the world and sort of fits nowhere. And so Antonio belongs everywhere.
I love that.
Because if not, Antonio wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
So for a lot of the play, I'm able to clock, for lack of a better term, what class people are, what their deal is, and sort of maneuver my way with a little bit of, like, fluidity and ease and confidence, because I've been around lots of different kinds of people, if that makes sense.
That does.
And that resonates with me because I'm mixed race and I am queer and I'm bi-coastal, I'm bisexual. I feel like I'm also, like, moved through different spaces. So I loved bringing that to the character.
That's interesting what you said about Antonio's ability to sort of clock someone's, like, status in the world. Do you feel like you, as an actor, have that ability to read people, whether you're on stage or whether you're on set, just sort of in general in your life? Are you someone who's very perceptive of the people around you because you're an actor?
I think so. I would like to think I am. I also think when you're an actor, especially in New York, sometimes you're on set with somebody who is an A-list actor who is super wealthy or maybe has been disconnected from the way the general public lives for a long time. But then you're doing a reading next week with a bunch of other New York actors who have been slumming it like you, and you find yourself vacillating between the two experiences, while also recognizing that neither of those experiences are the experience of the general public.
Yes.
And so it's this challenge as an actor of, like, your life is so peculiar and strange, and yet it is my job to represent everyday people.
Yes.
So it's this weird paradox. But yeah, I think as an actor, you develop an ability to maneuver conversations with different kinds of people.
Yeah, you're like a chameleon in a way. I mean, I guess you have to really, you're in so many different kinds of environments, right? You're on stage, you're in rehearsal, you're on set, and you're maneuvering yourself as a chameleon in all of those spaces.
Yeah, and I have gotten better at it, and I also sometimes, some certain spaces make me uncomfortable. I think for a while I had a resistance to super wealthy spaces, for lack of a better term, or spaces where I was like, this is dumb. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? But I'm realizing it sort of comes with the profession, and I try to practice non-judgment as an actor and as a human being. But yeah, I find myself in really crazy places and doing crazy things.
Yeah, same, honestly.
Yeah. And New York, again, it's like lots of money and extreme poverty right on the same street corner.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to wrap your brain around.
It's very jarring.
Yeah.
It's very jarring. Just talking about Antonio, I'm so fascinated by this character. Tell me a little bit about the prep that went behind embodying them. I guess, like, you have this whole backstory for them, right? Did you come up with that backstory?
I did because I wanted to justify, there's some lines in the text about when I'm captured by Orsino's men, how the last time they saw me was in the smoke of war. And there's a story about how I had, boarded one of their ships and taken some of the things on the ship. So I was like, if I'm playing this character, I was quite young. And so this had to be a really scrappy kid. But yeah, this was actually the first, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit, but this was the first job in New York that I had where I didn't have to audition.
Wow.
So
That's big.
it was huge.
That's really big.
It was really big, and it was a crazy job. I was getting my hair dyed blonde again. And my agents called and were like, Sahim Ali wants to talk to you about playing Antonio in 12th Night, like I had mentioned. And I had never worked with Sahim, but I was the reader for this Broadway musical called Buena Vista Social Club.
Yep. I'm seeing it next week.
You're seeing it next week? It's fantastic.
Okay.
Sahim is gorgeous. Sahim really knows how to make a show enjoyable and entertaining and really heartfelt. The show is gorgeous. I can't wait for you to see it. But I was in the auditions, there's usually like a reader who, when the person comes in, they read the scene and they need another actor to read the other person in the scene. I was that person. So for 2 years, from the Atlantic production to the Broadway production, I was the reader in the audition. So he saw me do all the female parts for that show.
Wow, okay.
And he had seen my other work in the city, but he called and he wanted to get coffee. So we chatted. I sort of unloaded. Oh, well, when I got the call, I was like, oh my God. So I reread 12th Night. I was like, who's Antonio? And I had this idea. I was like, I have to come in with this pitch, of what I want Antonio to be. And I told Sahim, because I knew that the play was quite funny. Mm-hmm. And as I was reading the text, I was like, nothing about Antonio's story is funny, at least to me. I was like, this guy saves this other guy's life. He's in love with him, and then he gets arrested.
Is it a little bit tragic?
It's a little tragic. He gets arrested. It's also in this production, I'm the only queer, visibly queer character of color, and I get arrested and dragged off stage. And then at the end, the person I love sort of denies me and moves on. And it's really tragic. And I told him, I was like, I don't know what the other actors are doing. I knew we had Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who's comedy IQ is through the roof. We had all these A-list actors, and I knew that they were going to be so funny. And I was like, Sahim, I'm going to play it straight. I'm going to be as earnest as I can. I hope that's okay. And he was like, yeah. And I think he understood that. And I did feel in the production, I don't know if you could feel, but it felt like I was in a different universe, which I loved because people would get the chance to laugh and full belly laugh, and then they'd watch my scenes and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And they'd watch Malvolio's scenes, Peter, and be like, whoa, because he has a tragic ending as well.
Yeah.
When I first got the script that Sahim had sent me as the draft, it was really, really lean. He had taken a lot of the play out, and Antonio and Sebastian don't have a lot already to begin with. And there's this arrest scene that was cut down a lot. And I was like, oh man, I feel like this is super important to my character, especially given the angle that we were taking in terms of Antonio's queerness and that part of the plot.
Yeah.
And so when I got the lean script, I was like, okay. So I ended up sending Sahim, the director, an email where I had pitched my additions to the script. And I put it side by side with the cut script. And under each addition, I put in the footnotes why. And all the whys were dramaturgical reasons, story reasons, plot reasons.
Wow.
And also reasons that referenced what was in the actual text. What Shakespeare had written. It was all story-based. It was
okay.
It was almost like an essay. It was really long. And
That's
I sort
insane.
of apologized to Sahim at the end for how long it was, but I really wanted to cover all my bases.
Yeah.
And know that if I showed up to rehearsal and wasn't happy with what I had on the page, it wasn't for lack of me standing up for myself and trying.
Yes. That's insane.
I know,
That's
but
insane.
I needed that encouragement from Hampton, and Sahim is amazing and wonderful and super smart. So he was like, yeah, and he said yes, and so much got pulled back in, and those moments that I advocated for ended up being some of the most powerful moments I felt of Antonio's story in our production.
Yeah.
And so now I take that with me on every show, on every set. I'm like, when I feel that icky feeling of oh, and it's never personal. I don't think anybody wants a character in their production to be less than or to be not fleshed out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so hard to make something and you're thinking about other things. And so when I feel that icky feeling, I'm like, oh, I can do something about this. And oftentimes I have to come with like receipts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And come prepared. But I can be an active collaborator and honor that feeling, you know?
I love that. The way you describe that, like self-advocating for yourself, sounds like the process of, production is a little bit more fluid than I initially thought. Because someone who doesn't know a lot about the theater industry, for example, I think of the play as like, I don't think of it as like a living, breathing thing.
Especially Shakespeare.
Yeah, Shakespeare. Yeah. I think of it sort of like set in stone. And I guess what you're saying is that there's, the director has an interpretation of it and a style and a tone, and they make all of those decisions. But it sounds like there are many conversations during the production of like, oh, maybe we do this, or maybe we bring this line in or out. And is that kind of what it sounds like?
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just the actors, it's also, we have Shakespeare scholars in the room. We have, lighting, costume, like there's like hundreds of people that make, especially film and TV, it's like hundreds. And each of those people is contributing and adding and saying, well, I read this thing, or, oh, I thought this. And a lot of times the character for me is not formed until I see what they've been working on. Because I go home in my apartment and I'm like reading the lines and I have these ideas, and then I see Oana Botez's costumes and I'm like, oh. And I'm talking to Zahim about what the scene, I'm like, oh. So you think you're making it, you think it's yours, and then you realize it's a collaboration for sure.
Yeah. People have probably asked you in interviews, I'm guessing, what is it like to work with such a star-studded cast, an A-list cast? And my question is, you're a star in your own right, and you've done a lot, you have a very impressive CV. As someone who's now very, very much into their career, you've done loads of TV, you've done loads of plays, do you still ever feel any kind of imposter syndrome when you're in a space that's very high pressure? Or, do you reach a point where you're like, I got this, like, I very much deserve to be here, I've earned this? Or is it kind of like a mix of the two,
It depends. I can say that the other people who are in a project doesn't affect my sense of, like, readiness or deserving to be there. I think a lot of times I feel what the inverse is, which is like, I know I can do this. Does anyone else know that I can do this? Will you let me do this? I think sometimes people, which is why I was really excited to do Shakespeare in the Park, because I came to New York to train to be a classically trained actor. That's why I went to Juilliard, because I wanted to be able to do the classics. I knew that if I was able to do Shakespeare and do Chekhov and, that I would be able to do anything. And I wanted to be able to walk into a room and be like, I can do that. And that's still something I strive for, even with fitness. I try to use my body and my vessel to its fullest capacity, but I think when people see me in the street, they're not like, oh yeah, that's a classically trained actor, right?
Right.
So getting to do Shakespeare in the Park, I was like, oh, I get to show people, I get to bring the like earnest, like sort of like FU, like crazy, confident B to my classical training and show people that those things mix. So that feels good. But I honestly, sometimes I feel like I know exactly what I'm doing, and sometimes I feel like I don't know how to act at all, and I don't know what's gonna happen. And yeah.
That's crazy. Is that like an either or situation? Like, do you wake up one day and you're like, it's gonna be this kind of?
I think more. I think what really it is the pressure.
Okay.
Is I have so many people who like really believe in me, which is an amazing gift. But the thing about, especially with film and television, like, and this is so small. Last summer also, I shot You for Netflix. And there's this scene where my character is on the phone on FaceTime. And they've built this set that is just my bed and the wall behind my bed. And I'm there to this day just to do this. And the FaceTime is me holding the iPhone, and the actual footage is the footage I'm looking at. So I'm looking at myself on an iPhone. There's like 50 to 75 people standing there just for me. Their eyes are on me. The boom guy is there. There's somebody yelling the other lines of the three other characters. And I don't know if you've ever had like 50 or 75 people staring at you, waiting for you to do the thing so that they can go home to their families. But it is like it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'm playing pretend on a fake bed. There's all this technical stuff of like I have to make sure the camera doesn't show that we're in a sound stage. And sometimes moments like that can feel like, oh my God, I don't want to mess up. Although on paper it would seem that I'm qualified to do this thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pressure of being able to show up and do my job well in an efficient way can be really nerve-wracking.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my God. I can't even imagine having 50 to 70 people just staring at me and waiting for me to say my line.
Yeah, and I'm having a fake conversation in silence. Yeah. And everyone's just watching me. It's very strange.
I've always wondered how those FaceTime scenes actually get filmed.
Yeah. It was like a Zoom. So I just filmed my Zoom and then they put them all together. But I never saw any of the actors at that Zoom.
Do you go back and watch yourself? Like, do you watch your scenes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my God. I watch my scenes because I'm really interested in getting better. That's something that's always on my mind. And so I'll watch the scenes and I like do it once to just get it out of the way because I can be pretty brutal to myself, as I think a lot of artists are. And then I watch it objectively and I'm like, okay, what went well? What didn't go well? Why?
I'm getting a sense of your personality from the footnotes and the
yes. Well, because God, I love this thing. And you know when you love something, the time is easy to be spent.
Yep.
And so, and this is all I want to do. It is all I've, like, my whole life path has been geared toward this thing. And so I'm like, it behooves me to be better at it and to grow. And I think about like a lot of young actors, like back in the day, they talk about like how they did a movie or they did a TV show and they were like, oh, that sucked. I'm never going to work again. And I have that feeling all the time. And other people don't think that, but I think that. And I think with social media now, everybody's seing everything you're doing.
Yeah, for better and for worse.
For better and for worse.
Yeah.
And so your failures are public, your successes are public. But I've learned that like grace is super important, and I watch everything I do.
Yeah. Because I know some actors are like, I'm not ever going to watch that, you know?
Yeah, I think I think when I was a younger actor, I felt like I needed to prove that I was good or feel like I was good. But I ended up acquiring a few friends who became my coaches, my acting coaches, who will help me with auditions and things. And the more and more I started looking at acting work or a scene objectively in terms of story, the more I realized that when a scene wasn't working, it wasn't because I was a bad actor, it was because I was a note away from understanding what would unlock the scene, right?
Oh, I love that.
It's like, I just don't have I didn't get the right note, or I'm not connected right now for some reason, or, right, like there's it's not personal. It's not about my ability. It's about a lack of information, right?
I love that. I'm going to take that.
Yeah, or a lack of connectivity.
Yes.
And maybe next time I'll have that information. Maybe next time I'll have that connectivity. But once I started thinking in that way, there wasn't anybody or anything that could sort of
like bring you down.
Bring me down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I messed that up, huh?
Yeah.
And like, it's not because I'm ultimately messed up or unable to perform well. It's because like maybe I was miscast, or maybe I just, you know, didn't do enough research, or maybe again I just wasn't connected for some reason or present, and that all can change.
Yeah. Wow. It is such a psychological game.
Yes.
It's so psychological. I'm really keen to explore that a little bit more.
Okay.
What do you tell yourself when you are stepping onto a stage for the first time, when you see the audience, or conversely, when you're on set and you know you've got your makeup done, you get onto the set and you're suddenly switching from B to character? Is there like what goes on behind that switch, mentally speaking? You know, is it like a 3, 2, 1, let's do it, or are you like kind of warming up into it in like the hour before? Like, what does that transition look like?
I would say it's definitely for me very different if I'm on camera versus on stage. When I'm in a play, I know that I have to be in a totally different space. So my like day-to-day changes, but about like an hour and a half before the show, I'm usually doing like a yoga flow to just open up my body. But there is this woman named Faye Simpson who teaches this technique called lucid body that I use a lot, and she taught it at Yale School of Drama and NYU, and now they teach it at Juilliard as well. But I missed it. But I trained outside of school in lucid very briefly, and I've sort of molded it to fit my own sense of process. But essentially, and I won't talk too long about it because I'm not an expert in it. Again, it's so huge. There's so much to it, but it's a way of building a character that uses the Western understanding of chakras as a framework.
Okay, whoa.
Yeah, so you become familiar with the different energy centers of your body. You make a chart with the body of your character, and you sort of make decisions, or you have intuitions, or you explore what energy centers are activated and in which way. And so once I made a chart for Antonio. And before the show, I'll do a meditation, and then I will spend time in each center knowing what's going on in each center.
Okay, so wait, so tell me as if I don't know much about this. Like,
Okay.
When you say, like, are you sort of locating Antonio's, like, energy in, like, their body?
Yeah.
Like, is it like, oh, I'm feeling it right here in my arms? Or like, oh, like, Antonio, you know, say that you have a character who, like, slouches, or is it, like, kind of like that?
No, so it's not like that, but more specifically, and again, I'm talking about lucid body in a very broad strokes way because, again, I'm not Faye Simpson. And again, I've melded it to fit my own process. But so there are energy centers in the body, like you've got your root chakra, your sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat, third eye, and then your crown. And they all, they're different energy centers. So for like example, the root chakra is like basic needs, survival. And for me, Antonio's root chakra was like exploded, is what you would say in lucid body. So like I would harm somebody if I felt like they were threatening Sebastian.
I see.
Do you know what I mean? Like that
Yes.
sense of like, I'm grounded, I'm on my 2 feet, I would do anything for this person I love, is like activated, right?
Got it.
And heart chakra exploded, right? And so I've got these 2 things happening at the same time. A lot of times they'll be activated, but in ways that conflict. So I'll be hiding one with the other, or the 2 are happening at the same time and I don't know how to. So it creates immediately things are happening. But what I like about lucid body is I feel like for me, I can't access character through like putting something on. So what I love about lucid is it's stuff that's already happening in my body, or something that has already happened in my body that I'm just activating.
Got it.
So like I don't typically live in if you have an exploded solar plexus, you're like confident and you're like, yeah, like I'm the best. Like I don't live in that space. Do you know what I mean? I feel like but immediately if I think about it, it's like the way that it happens in my body. Do you see immediately like there's something happening?
Wow. Okay, wait, can we do a really quick game?
Yes.
Show me the difference between someone who has that explosion, you know, that confidence. How would they sit as opposed to someone who's like very timid or maybe a little introverted?
Yeah, so I think that I would sit with my legs maybe a little bit more open. I think I'm super relaxed. And with lucid, sometimes too, you pick a line of text that is, so I'd be like, I'm the best. I'm the best. And it's like easy because I'm the best. And you could even like, go from there, I'm the best, and gesture out. And then if they were imploded, I think like your sense of self is a little, there's not a lot of clarity in terms of like where I belong or like what I'm not, you'd be like, maybe the line is like, I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know. And that would be the gesture. Same place, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And so you're coming from the same place. It's just like, I'm not sure.
Whoa.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, and it's like it's how B's body experiences that.
Yes.
And immediately it feels real to me as opposed to trying to put something on. So I would go through each center knowing what I charted for Antonio after meditating, and then I go on stage, and that process makes me feel like I'm still in my body and still feeling authentic and truthful, but certain things are turned up or turned down, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's a whole process I never would have thought of.
Yeah, shout out to Faye Simpson, shout out to Lucid Body. I'm always taking classes there when I can, but it's thrilling.
That's so cool. And you do boxing?
I do.
Kickboxing?
I box. It's something that I started a few years ago. I did a workshop of a boxing play, and the fight choreographer brought her actual boxing trainer because she was there to make the fights look real but be fake, keep us safe, and he was there to keep the authenticity as well. And he offered me like a comp class. He offered everybody, he was like, come take a class with me. And I did, and I was like, oh my god, I love this. And he told me his rate, and I was like, I can't afford this. And then literally a month later, I booked You on Netflix, and from that point on, I just booked back to back, and I kept working. And to this day, I'm with him. His name is Angel Rivera. He's amazing.
B, how does boxing influence your process as an actor? How does it influence, you know, how you feel in your body? And yeah, how does it inform your profession?
I really love that question because what I love about boxing or any sport really, I've always been pretty active, even the gym, is whatever I'm dealing with in my life and on stage is amplified by sport. So the thing about boxing is your heart rate is up. You're not only on the offense, you're on the defense, so you're trying to protect yourself. You're exhausted. And I'm a beginner boxer, but in my experience, you box well when you're relaxed and you're focused. And it requires like a 360 listening, right? You're listening to the whole body of the person in front of you in order to prevent them from hitting you and also to catch an opening to hit them. And so to be able to have exhaustion, noise, a lot going on, but to go and to be listening is what I hope to be able to do on a set when I'm freaking out, when I'm hungry, when I'm like had a weird interaction with a co-star, whatever like is going on, to just be able to be in a full body listening space is the dream. But also physically, I just feel more awake. Like after I box for an hour with my trainer, Angel, I feel awake, I feel alive, I feel like my body is mine, which is something that I think it's one of the reasons I wanted to box, because prior to boxing, I had done a lot of yoga. I do a lot of like vinyasa and hot yoga. And it was great. And I was like, oh, like my body is available, like woo, 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 as an actor. But then I like had never, when I did this boxing play, I had never like punched anything. I wasn't like a violent kid. I never got into fights. But when I started punching things, I was like, oh, I need this too. And I can't just like bypass, I can't just like meditate and yoga my way through everything. I think sometimes it's good to punch my way, yes, or to like express rage, or to channel my energy in a way that feels on the offense. And I feel like a lot of people who are socialized as women, or grow up as victims of misogyny, don't get to express rage in this country. It doesn't really belong anywhere. There's no like place for it. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And not that boxing is about rage, but to be on the offense and to be able to not only like pack a punch, but also to like protect myself at the same time.
I would not want to get into a fight with
It's been really empowering, and I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, there'll be a project where I can show both like the fluidity that I carry with my body, but also the strength. If not boxing, through something else. I'd love to play an athlete. That's something I like really want to do.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Are you like, do you want to play a boxer? Is
Yeah,
that kind of like
a little bit. I've always had this fantasy of me doing action, and about a year after, not even a year, a few months after I graduated Juilliard, I had an agent, and I kept getting callbacks, and I would just never book it. And I would audition, and I called him, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, do I need to take classes? Am I not, like, doing well? You can be honest. I just want to know so we can make an adjustment. And he told me, he was like, hey, B, like, one, you're not doing anything wrong. It's not a matter of when it's going to happen for you. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen for you, it's when. And he was like, so in the meantime, what are you doing to get ready? He was like, if you booked your dream job tomorrow, are you ready?
Oh, I love that.
And the answer was like, no.
Wow,
like,
okay.
No, I don't actually think I'm ready to lead a major motion picture. I don't think I'm ready to do action. I don't think I'm ready. Whatever the thing was, I was like, no. And so in that moment, my mindset completely changed. I was like, oh, what is my dream job? What do I want? Where am I now? And before that happens, how can I close the distance between me and the person who is ready for that job? So that when I get the call, I'm like, all right, let's go. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So
I love this philosophy. And as someone who sometimes struggles with rejection or a no, I think I need to adopt this a lot more. Like, what am I doing to get ready for the dream job or the dream position? Or
yes.
I love that.
And I started this thing too, where I call it the fishbowl me, where like I imagine there's like this fishbowl, right? And there's me in it, and inside the fishbowl, I'm like living my dream life. And I'm like, I wake up in the morning. What is the first thing what does my day look like? I'm like on the phone, like with Scorsese, and I'm like, do you know what I mean? I get a massage, and then I meditate, and then I like read scripts, and like what, like and it's gotten more elaborate over the years, and it changes. But I'm like, what is my dream? What is my fishbowl day? And then I try to do that as close as I can now, like my version of it, with my budget and my like apartment, whatever it is. Like, how does that person dress, and how does that person talk and behave? And yeah, it's all just like closing the gap.
It takes a lot of work to be able to picture your dream so clearly.
Yeah.
And for that to be a clear image in your head and be like, what will my ideal day look like, and how can I get there, and how can I sort of, it's like manifesting it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to do that, and that's not something that everyone has, I think. I think I definitely, struggle with that sometimes, just picturing what I consider success in like my own industry. And I guess as an actor, success is so it's like subjective, right? Like, what do you think your version of success is? Is it like, oh, I'll do X movies, or is it like, oh, I'll have this many followers, you know, like how would you define success? Or is it I'll feel like I'll get recognized on the street?
I think for me, when I work, typically there are a few things that the work, or a few categories that the work falls into. One of them is that it pays really well and my rent is paid and I don't have to like be in a state of fight or flight, especially living in the city. The other is that I am deeply fulfilled by the work creatively. And then the other is that the work is doing good in the world and has like an impact that feels what is the word I'm looking for?
Like positive?
Yeah. I think success to me is doing enough of those jobs that I'm able to, one, start creating my own work, two, I'm genuinely happy, and then three, I'm able to like build and sustain a family. But yeah, being creatively fulfilled to me is honestly the most important marker of my success, because I have this nightmare, like it's a thing that like keeps me up at night, is that I will work, which I work so often, which is amazing, but that I will work forever, for the rest of my life, consistently or in a way that, you know, pays my rent, but that I will not be creatively fulfilled by it and that I will not be proud of it, both in the quality or in the way that it has impacted the world. So I think impact and creative fulfillment for me are the biggest markers of success.
I love that. And just also maybe having the power to say no to some projects, yes to this project, no, I don't want to do that right now, no, I want to head in this direction. That feels very powerful, I'm sure, as an actor.
Yeah, and I have really great reps, like my team, my manager, my agents, who from the beginning were like, B, you can say no to any of this, you can say no at any point. They were adamant about me not only being clear about how I wanted to be viewed and the kind of actor that I wanted to be, but also teaching other people by my nose how I wanted to be perceived and how I wanted them to perceive me, respectfully. Like, this is a cool project, but that's not the kind of actor that I am. Or, and I think you do teach people how they can treat you, how they view you by what you say yes and no to.
I love that. For me, the takeaway is that you have a lot of agency in the direction you want to go, even how you want to portray a character, and to how many lines get put into a play. Yeah. I love that. B, thank you so much again for being on the program. This was such a lovely conversation, and yeah, I really, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, this was such a joy. Thank you so much. Your questions are beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.